Welcome to The Debate. Before we begin, we want to highlight something very special.
영상은 내가 직접 제작한 거야. Designed by Hot 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 or Idea for Hot 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 Hot.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge shout out there.
For sure. So, today we want you to imagine two giant players sitting across from each other at like a global chessboard. But instead of moving little wooden chess pieces, they are moving the entire world's money.
Right. And it's a massive change in how money actually works day to day.
Exactly. On one side of this global board, we have the BRICS nations, countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And they're actively teaming up to create a brand new money system called the unit.
And they plan to back it with real physical gold, right? Yes, actual physical gold. And then, sitting right across from them on the other side of the board, we have the United States. And we're currently watching the U.S. change its own banking rules in ways we honestly haven't seen in decades.
Which really brings us to the big central question of today's debate. I mean, are the U.S. and BRICS fighting this secret high-stakes war over who controls the future of global money?
Right. And I'm taking the position that, well, this isn't just routine paperwork. I really believe the U.S. is intentionally front-running the BRICS plan.
Wait, so you think it's completely intentional?
Oh, absolutely. I think by using highly complex, hidden banking rules, the U.S. is secretly forcing the dollar to be backed by real gold and silver. It's a calculated, brilliant counterattack designed to save America's financial power.
Well, look, I look at the exact same set of facts and I see a totally different picture. I just don't buy the idea of a secret global money war at all.
Really? How else do you explain it?
My position is simply that the U.S. is just trying to fix its own broken economy. I mean, the new rules we're going to talk about today are just meant to stop American banks from making dangerous, fake paper bets. If those new rules happen to look a little bit like the BRICS plan, well, it's just a complete coincidence.
A coincidence. Okay. Well, let me lay out why I think it's far more than just a coincidence. You see, for a long time, Western banks have kept the price of gold artificially low.
By selling the fake paper gold, right?
Exactly. How do they do it? They do it by selling fake paper gold. Just imagine a bank has like one single gold bar sitting in its vault. But they print out 100 paper slips, each claiming to own that exact same gold bar, and they sell those slips to 100 different people.
Which completely floods the market.
Right. By flooding the market with these fake paper promises, they push the actual price of gold down. And BRICS is totally fed up with this game. They want to use actual physical gold to destroy the power of the US dollar, which right now is just paper.
Yeah, but
the US isn't just sitting back and waiting for that attack to happen, you know?
Okay, I agree the U.S. is making major moves, but assigning this grand secret motive to them is a huge leap. If you want to really understand what's happening, you have to look at the guy leading the charge.
What do you mean, Kevin Warsh?
Yeah, the incoming head of the U.S. Central Bank, Kevin Warsh, his entire track record shows he isn't trying to fight an epic chess match against China or Russia. He is just obsessed with the domestic economy.
Sure, he talks about the domestic economy.
No, but that's his whole goal. His goal is to help real factories build things, help small businesses stay open, and protect normal workers right here at home.
I hear you, but you can't just ignore the weapons he's choosing to use. On March 19th, the U.S. announced a new regulatory package called the Basel III Endgame.
Right, the big banking rule update.
Yeah, and this rule secretly forces U.S. banks to stop playing with those fake paper promises. It actually forces them to fill up their vaults with real, physical gold and silver. To me, that's a hidden weapon. The U.S. is rushing to make its money as solid as gold right before BRICS has the chance to launch the unit.
But see, you're assuming he's doing this to fight BRICS. He's changing the rules because for years, American banks have been making wild, reckless gambles.
Gambles with paper, yes?
Exactly. They created massive bubbles in the stock market by just trading these empty paper promises back and forth. Kevin Warsh just wants to stop that dangerous casino behavior. The March 19th rules are about making banks safe so they don't collapse. It's a giant cleanup operation for our own messy financial house.
Well, let's dig into the actual mechanics of this so we can see who's right here. We need to look at what BRICS is actually building first.
Okay, let's look at it.
So they have a very clear formula for their new money, the unit. It's simple but really powerful. 40% of its value is tied directly to real, physical gold.
And the other 60%?
The remaining 60% is a mix of their own local currencies.
Exactly. It's a hybrid system. I mean, they want something more stable than pure paper, but flexible enough for everyday trade.
Right. And the reason they are enforcing that 40% physical gold rule is to break the paper system I mentioned earlier. Right now, Western banks can just type numbers on a computer screen and create endless amounts of fake money.
Which is what fiat money is, basically.
Exactly. So BRICS is essentially drawing a line in the sand. They're telling the world, hey, we're only going to trade using real, heavy gold. We're going to let the West's fake paper money collapse under its own weight. They are using physical reality as a weapon against a paper illusion.
Okay, look, I don't disagree with your analysis of BRICS. They clearly want a system based on physical assets. But where you and I fundamentally disagree is how the U.S. is reacting to that.
How so?
Well, your argument claims the U.S. is trying to turn the dollar into gold to fight back. But Kevin Warsh isn't trying to turn the U.S. dollar into gold. The dollar is still going to be a fiat currency.
For anyone unfamiliar, why don't you explain what fiat means in this context?
Sure. Fiat simply means the money is valuable just because the government says it is. It's not backed by a pile of gold. It's backed by the strength of the U.S. economy. Warsh's entire philosophy is about how we use that fiat money, not what the money is backed by.
Okay, I'm listening.
Let me use an analogy that makes this mechanism super clear. Imagine that all the money in our economy is like snacks in a middle school cafeteria.
Oh, I like this. I'm tracking with you. Go on.
Right now, the way the school rules are written, only the popular kids get the snacks. In our economy, the popular kids are the stock market, real estate investors, and big banks playing paper games.
Right, because trading paper is so profitable for them.
Exactly. They get all the money because trading paper promises is easy, fast, and has almost no rules. Meanwhile, the hungry kids, like the real factories, the small businesses, and the normal jobs, they get nothing. They're starving for cash to build actual things.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair description of how broken the economy is right now.
So Warsh just wants to fix the snack distribution. He wants to lower interest rates so that it's finally easy for the hungry kids to get loans and build real factories.
But if he just lowers rates, the big banks will just take that cheap money again.
Rates, the big banks will take all those cheap snacks and gamble them in the stock market again. So he has to rewrite the rules. He wants to make it painfully hard for the banks to play paper games, so the money is forced to flow out into the real world.
Look, the snack analogy works great for explaining his domestic goals. But you're completely missing the most important part of the mechanism.
What am I missing?
You're ignoring how he's taking those snacks away from the banks. If we look at the specific rule from March 19th, that Basel III Endgame rule, we see it specifically targeting gold and silver.
Okay, let's break down that rule then.
We have to understand two simple words to see how this weapon works: unallocated and allocated.
Which are really just fancy banking terms for paper versus physical, right?
Right. Let's make it concrete for everyone. Unallocated basically means fake paper silver. It's exactly like a bank writing on a napkin, "I promise I owe you 1 silver coin."
A napkin promise.
Exactly. The bank doesn't actually have the silver coin in their building. They just wrote a paper promise and sold it to you. Now, allocated means real physical silver. It means there is an actual, heavy silver coin sitting in a locker and your specific name is written on that locker.
Got it. Napkin promises versus real lockers.
Exactly. Now let's look at what the March 19th rule actually does. Under this new rule, if a bank writes a fake paper promise for silver on a napkin, they get punished severely.
How severely?
Well, the rule says that if the bank sells a napkin promise for $100, the bank has to take $85 of their own real emergency cash and lock it up in a vault doing nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, and in the banking world, cash sitting in a vault is dead money. It doesn't earn interest. So, suddenly, making fake paper promises becomes incredibly expensive and unprofitable for the bank.
Which makes perfect sense from a safety perspective, doesn't it?
But here is the trick, and this is why it's a weapon against BRICS. If the bank holds real silver in a locker with a customer's name on it, the allocated silver, the penalty is 0.
Wait, really? No penalty?
There is no 85% requirement. So what does this actually do in the real world? It makes fake paper silver totally unprofitable to trade. It forces the whole U.S. banking system to stop playing with paper and start spending billions to buy real, physical metals to fill their vaults. They are using a banking rule to silently hoard real silver and gold before the BRICS nations can.
Okay, you're explaining the mechanism perfectly, but your conclusion is a massive jump. I mean, doesn't this 85% rule just prove exactly what I was saying about Kevin Warsh wanting to stop dangerous gambling?
How does hoarding physical silver stop gambling?
Because the napkin promises you just described, they are the ultimate gamble. Think about the risk there. If a bank writes 100 napkins promising silver, but they only have one real silver coin in the back room, they are playing with fire.
Sure, it's a risk.
A huge risk. If even two people come to the bank on the same day and say, hey, I want my real silver coin, the bank fails, it crashes.
Yes, that's a classic bank run.
Exactly. So the 85% rule isn't a secret weapon to hoard silver. It's just basic common sense. It's a safety rule to stop banks from relying on risky paper magic.
I don't know.
It is. The government is just stepping in and saying, hey, if you are going to make a promise to a customer, you need to have the cash to back it up. It's a domestic safety measure to prevent another financial crisis. It really has nothing to do with copying the BRICS 40% gold rule.
Look, I hear you, but you're looking at the rule in a complete vacuum. If you zoom out and look at the actual timeline of events, the whole domestic safety argument completely falls apart.
The timeline?
Yes, the timeline proves this is a highly coordinated secret attack. Let me walk you through the dates step by step.
Go ahead, but, dates can be tricky things to build a case on.
Just listen. Let's start on January 30th. On this day, Kevin Warsh is officially chosen as the future leader of the central bank. The new general is placed on the battlefield.
Okay, a new leader gets elected. That happens all the time in government.
But watch what happens next. Just 5 days later, on February 4th, a political leader named J.D. Vance suggests a plan called Project Vault.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah. He publicly argues that the U.S. government needs to step in, buy massive amounts of real physical silver, and protect its price from falling. He literally wants to lock up real silver in a vault to protect America's wealth.
But Project Vault failed, right? It got totally blocked by politics in Congress. It never became a law.
That is exactly my point. Congress blocked it. So, since they couldn't pass the law through the front door, they used the regulators to sneak it through the back door.
Sneak it through the back door?
Yes. On March 19th, the 3 big bank regulators suddenly announced the 85% rule. They use an obscure banking penalty to do exactly what Project Vault wanted to do: kill paper silver and force banks to buy real silver.
Okay, but you're assuming regulators can just whip up a massive rule like the Basel III Endgame in a few weeks. That is just not how bureaucracy works.
But that's exactly what they did. And it gets even better. When does this new banking rule actually become final?
I don't know when.
The regulators set a strict deadline of June 18th to collect all the final opinions and lock the rule into place. And do you know what happens on June 18th?
Oh, wait, is it Kevin Warsh's first day?
It is Kevin Warsh's very first day actually leading the central bank.
Okay, wow.
Exactly. On his very first day sitting in the big chair, the weapon is fully loaded and handed to him. You cannot look at a bureaucratic machine moving that fast January 30th, February 4th, March 19th, and June 18th and tell me this is just a random cleanup of bank rules.
It is a fast timeline, I'll give you that.
Regulators usually take years to pass rules like this. This is a perfectly coordinated package. They are rushing to create hard money, money backed by real, touchable value, before BRICS can finish launching their own system.
Well, I'll admit, when you string the dates together like that, it sounds like an exciting spy movie. It really is a dramatic timeline. But there is another perspective that explains those exact same dates without requiring a massive secret conspiracy.
Okay, I'm open to hearing how you explain a bureaucratic miracle like that.
It goes back to Kevin Warsh's core goal. He actually wants to relax general bank rules. He wants to make it much easier for banks to lend money to real businesses, our hungry kids in the cafeteria from earlier.
Right.
But if you loosen the rules on regular loans, you have to balance things out. You have to be incredibly strict on the fake paper trading. Otherwise, the banks will just gamble the new money.
So you're saying he's loosening the rules for Main Street, but tightening the rules for Wall Street?
Precisely. He's pushing the Basel III rule fast because he needs the safety nets in place before he lowers interest rates. Now, at this exact same moment in history, BRICS also hates fake paper money, but for a completely different reason.
Because it suppresses their gold prices.
Exactly. They hate it because it suppresses their physical gold prices. So the U.S. is cracking down on paper money to fix its domestic economy. BRICS is cracking down on paper money to build their new international unit. Because both groups happen to hate the exact same thing right now, their actions look identical.
You're seriously arguing they just happen to meet on the exact same road by accident?
Yes, they are walking on the exact same path, but for completely different reasons. I mean, BRICS wants to defeat the dominance of the U.S. dollar. The U.S. just wants to make sure its own banks don't blow up from bad paper bets.
It just seems too convenient.
It's not a coordinated secret war, though. It's simply two different massive groups realizing that fake paper wealth is a terrible idea at the exact same time.
Well, the problem with that two trains on parallel tracks theory is the sheer scale of the action. I mean, the fact that the U.S. is using its regulators to practically force banks into physical silver, right at the very moment BRICS is aggressively doing the same, is just too massive to write off as a coincidence.
It's a big shift, sure.
We are watching a deliberate pivot. We are moving away from a world built on paper illusions to a world grounded in heavy physical reality.
You know, on that specific point, we actually completely agree. Regardless of the motives, the era of infinite paper magic is definitely facing a major global reality check.
Yeah, well, we've covered a lot of deep mechanical ground today, from international finance to domestic banking regulations, to make sure all the pieces fit together clearly. Let's provide a very simple wrap-up of our core arguments.
Good idea. Let's summarize the big picture for everyone.
Okay, my summary is this. I believe the U.S. government saw the BRICS nations coming together to create a new money backed by real gold. Realizing that purely paper money would lose this fight, the U.S. secretly used tricky banking rules like the 85% penalty.
Right.
By heavily punishing banks for using fake paper silver, the U.S. is quietly forcing its own banking system to hoard real, physical gold and silver. It is a smart, hidden way to back the U.S. dollar with real value before the BRICS nations can take over the global board.
And my summary is simply this. The U.S. is just cleaning up its own messy banks. For years, banks made dangerous, massive bets using fake paper money, which did absolutely nothing to help normal businesses or workers.
The casino games.
Right. Kevin Warsh and the government are just trying to stop those risky casino games to make our domestic economy safer. By stopping the fake paper games, we accidentally increase the demand for real gold and silver. It happens to look exactly like the BRICS plan, but it's really just common sense house cleaning.
It really is a fascinating divide in how two people can view the exact same set of facts and timelines, but I think there is an incredible point where both sides of this debate actually meet in the middle.
Oh, we definitely found some common ground on what the future looks like.
Absolutely. Whether you believe this is a secret, calculated global war between superpowers or you believe it's just the U.S. fixing its own broken banking rules, the end result is exactly the same. The era of fake paper wealth seems to be coming to a close.
Yeah, the world is suddenly realizing that real, physical value, things you can actually touch, hold, and lock in a vault, is becoming king once again.
That is undeniably true. The days of making endless money out of thin air on a computer screen are getting much, much harder.
And honestly, maybe that's a good thing for everybody.
It definitely leaves us all with something big to think about. If the giant countries and the massive global banks are suddenly rushing to grab real physical value, we have to ask ourselves, what does this mean for the money sitting in our own bank accounts? We'll leave you to draw your own conclusions. Thank you for joining us on The Debate.